3, 2, 1. Guys, welcome back to another Strongfit episode. I think we have an exciting one today.
Yeah.
We've been doing, if you guys have been watching, a lot of coaches courses, one-on-ones. And I think we've said this for quite some time now, but the fitness industry and the tone of the fitness industry is changing. And the people that are seeking help in a more holistic, natural movement, breath, all of the above way is growing. And I think that it really comes with frustration to maybe the medical system, the pharmaceutical system, the passive way, so on and so forth, and the negative effects of it. And we've been getting clients that are very passionate about helping people, very empathetic, and they come and they want me to help them with their clients, because these are coaches. And these are young coaches that have been coaching, training 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And their clients that we're talking about come straight out and say, I'm bipolar, I have traumas, I have eating disorders, massive panic attacks, schizophrenic. Like I'm seeing I have with this one coach and 5 clients, and all of them are just at the extremes. And I'm like, my goodness, like that's a lot of energy for you as a coach, a lot of stress for you to take on, especially if you're not prepared or educated. I think that we're still moving towards that side of it. And so that's what we're trying to really help people with, is being able to help them understand
So devil's advocate first.
Yeah.
What the medical side is going to say. Oh, it's full blown. So if you guys know on the podcast, because you might not be able to see this, but the sky is blue and it's snowing at the same time. Welcome to Holland. I kid you not. Alex will show this. This side over there, the side is blue. Right? Sunny, and it's snowing. Welcome to Holland. Anyway, physics do not apply here. Anyway, you know what the medical profession is going to say? Stay in your lane. Right. This is what we do and everything.
Yeah.
And like, how dare you talk about taking care of people with bipolar or... And so, let me give you my opinion on that one. First of all is, okay, you can have the extremes. If people are about to jump, if people are full-blown bipolar or like committed, they get committed every 3 weeks, stuff like that, sure, you can have them, and maybe then drug can be prescribed if it's to stop them from jumping off the bridge right now.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the argument that they've been using since the drugs have been around and the pharmaceutical companies are taking over 60 years ago to have a go at those types of things. But that's not mostly what we see. The people that your coaches, they come with people that are not ready to jump. They're just not happy with where they are in life.
Right.
Massive panic attacks do not feel good, but those people are still mostly functional.
Yeah.
They still go to work, they still do all that stuff. So you can have the extreme cases about to jump, to put on drugs and everything, but you have had 60 years now on drugs. The drugs, like all that stuff, depression, anxiety, starting around the 60s. You've been experimenting full-blown on people for 60 years. Yeah. It's not exactly getting better. So maybe, again, you're stopping people from jumping off bridges. Good. I'm an anarchist, but I don't want to burn the system. Right. So is there a need sometimes for, in certain cases? Yeah, probably. Some people tell you, I would have jumped without certain drugs, I need them. Sometimes that's true, sometimes it isn't, but sometimes it is true. But again, you can have those ones. How about the people suffering from anxiety on a daily basis that drugs do not help?
And they've been on drugs for who knows how long, and they still are not helping.
Exactly. Let's talk about that one. Like we had a number of people that were on drugs, that had been on drugs prescribed, right, for 5 years and everything. They're not any better.
Right.
Like they still feel like shit or stuff like that. So they don't feel, instead of being at a -10, they are -8. This is what you're offering right now as a medical profession. So you say you do more, but the thing is, it's getting worse. Right. There's more anxiety, more depression, more of that stuff. And right now the fix is stronger drugs.
Yeah.
Better designer drugs. That's the fix.
Right.
And I think in today's world, because of the internet and everything, they're starting to we're starting to not maybe lose respect, but lose our fear of the structure in place.
Right.
And that allows us to see that there is a problem with that stuff. Anxiety, depression is just not, it's not that simple.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not that simple.
Yeah, it's amazing because I've had a few clients and, you know, they've gone to talk to their doctor saying like, I want to get off this. And the doctor's like, then you're just going to go back to the start. You're going to go back to the start. And so then the point is, so then when do you ever stop? Right. And like, it's
right, so you don't.
Yeah,
that's what they're saying.
Stop, yeah.
So, but again, this is a lie, though, that they gave us at the beginning, because the way drugs were created to stop people from jumping off the bridge right now. You know, like people committed to asylum and everything. Then they use it on people saying, because that's the rationale, has always been like we put them on the drugs just so they feel better, then they can change their life, and then from there we get off the drugs. That was always the argumentation.
Right.
And now, 6 years later, because they realize it's not working, the drugs are not working, what they're telling us is, yeah, but we can't take you off of it, the symptoms are going to come right back. This was never the deal.
Right.
This was never the deal. And yet, that's more and more what they're saying now. The answer, why? Because they can't fix it.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. And the problem, also a huge problem with this, is they don't know how to get you off of it.
Right.
That's the other problem. That's why they're saying stay on it.
Yeah.
They don't know how to get you off of it. I know because I deal with it all the time. They have no clue on how to do this because there are physical side effects to taking those pills as well.
Yeah, I was just listening to the Joe Rogan podcast with Kylie Minogue.
The Australian
the superstar girl. Yeah. But she was talking about her addictions and you know how she wanted to get off of it and everything. And it's a massive. I don't know. It just seems like it's such a powerful place to have the doctors that have so much power over somebody's life.
Yeah.
And the pharmaceutical companies that are able to basically persuade and impose their power on the back end to push more so than anything how somebody's going to live the rest of their life. So, I mean, you get dependent. Jordan Peterson talked about it when he got dependent on the drugs.
Well, he had an adverse reaction to the drugs. So, and which fucked him up completely, but that's the part. Sorry. COVID. That's the part. Sorry.
If you say pirate ship, it goes away.
Power ship?
Pirate ship.
Oh, pirate ship?
Yeah.
There you go. I'll try that next. By the way, but that's even that on the. There's been I don't know if it's a misunderstanding or this. So, for example, let's talk about this real quick, the Jordan Peterson situation, because that's how everybody has framed it. Or he was dependent on the drugs. No, that's not what happened. Not exactly. It's what happened was he was on anti-anxiety medication, but then at some point, because his wife he thought was dying of cancer, stage 4 and everything, he increased the dosage. That created an adverse reaction.
Okay.
And the problem was when he had the adverse reaction, he tried to get off those drugs.
Okay.
Until he realized he could not physically do it, but not because he could not mentally do it. He could not physically do it because there was such a physical addiction to the drugs. So taking him out created another adverse reaction that they were afraid he was going to die from the reaction to getting off the drugs.
Okay.
So it's not
like a telenovela of drugs.
Right, exactly. But if you look like the way people are phrasing it, he's like, oh, he couldn't get up because he got dependent. Like, oh, without the drugs, he won't be able to function. No. The drugs gave him an adverse reaction, but taking him off the drugs would give him another worse adverse reaction. So no matter what, he was fucked.
Yeah. It's like taking people off heroin or off alcohol, like you have to.
Exactly. So imagine like if so you're on a drug, but getting off the drug kills you.
Right.
But being on the drugs almost kills you.
Yeah.
And that's your life.
That's awesome.
Right. That's what he went through.
Yeah.
That's why it's not quite as simple as being dependent on. See how they phrase it? Yeah. I'm like, no. That's not what happened. So that's the world we live in. So whenever they're gonna tell us to stay in your lines when it comes to anxiety and all that stuff, my answer is fuck you.
Right.
You had 60 years and all you've been doing is pushing the drugs and stronger drugs on people more and more because that's your only way out. Because you sold out to the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
For sure.
You sold out.
Yeah.
Like at this stage, like we have doctors that follow us and everything, they know exactly what I'm talking about. The medical industry has sold out to money,
Pharmaceuticals, yeah.
to the pharmaceutical industry.
And there is place for modern medicine with chemo.
Of course,
all that.
I am not
saying
trying to turn down.
Because otherwise the comment haters.
Yes,
are
I
gonna
know.
start to come in.
Well, we don't get that many, honestly.
Yeah.
But I'm not interested in burning down the system. But I do believe like there has to be a sense of recognition of the problem.
Yeah.
The arrogance of doctors that has to come to a stop.
Right.
Because, for example, like if we talk to a client that says, we're going to try to get you off of anxiety, doctors will go and say, if you get off those pills, you'll go right back to where you were, and will scare the shit out of them into staying on those pills.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they don't want to be responsible for putting them in the first place. But, well, that explains to you why the world is going wrong right now.
Right.
But that's mostly what we see.
Yeah. I mean, on a smaller level, like I'm doing all these birth classes with Dea, which is not fun. She doesn't watch this, it's okay. It's horrible. It's miserable. It's two Karens that are just yapping. And it makes me feel like I hope that like guys don't have wives sit down and watch our podcast and she's like, this is just two beefy dudes just not having, like, you know what I mean? But like, so they start having this whole conversation. But the interesting part was, you know, they're all about the natural birth and how things are supposed to go. You move around, you walk around. But starting for like, they give the history of like the medical world intervening in childbirth.
Yep.
And they lay you down in the hospital bed to make you uncomfortable, to put you on that epidural because the insurance companies pay and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And they want the C-sections and they're like, you know,
Yes.
I did learn a lot about it because the whole point of the pain that happens in natural childbirth is the amount of oxytocin that's being released into the system creates a much stronger bond between the baby and the wife, the baby and the mom.
Yeah.
And so that oxytocin is what allows them to have like this almost sixth sense of connection. So when people have the epidurals, there's a lot more postpartum depression and so on and so forth because the hormone isn't released.
And by the way, but other moment where it's released is when they breastfeed right after.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that's for the baby more. I'd be curious to see if the postpartum depression goes up because the mom don't know to have the oxytocin to be linked to the baby and therefore don't know
They don't have the connection.
why they suffer so much.
Yeah.
And so now they feel attacked almost.
Right.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, so it was been super interesting. And then like just
Pain
other
is
things
necessary.
where they'll just cut the placenta right away, the connection, rather than letting all the blood go. And certain medical facilities will cut the umbilical cord early, keep the placenta, the rest of the blood or juices that the baby's supposed to have. And if you want it as an extra service, I'm guessing because it goes back to the insurance company, they'll give it to you and they'll IV it into the baby afterwards. How fucked up is that?
Yeah.
They resell it to you as an extra service that's provided by your insurance company.
And then they need the IV because,
Anywho, so those are a lot of the things where I'm like watching, I was like, man, that's just crazy.
It's a scam.
Right? So it all kind of builds up into we as coaches need to do better. And
No, but let's go into that now. But I wanted this conversation first because you know that's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
And even if they don't say it to us, they'll say it to our coaches out there saying, stay in your line, you don't know anxiety and everything. I'm like, fine, you don't know either.
Yeah.
All the work I've been doing is trying to link anxiety together. And that's a podcast that you're going to see either before this one or after this one. And I got news for you. They don't know either.
Yeah.
If you go talk to your doctor right now that is putting you on pills, anti-anxiety pills, I can tell you something. He does not know about anxiety. All he knows about is the pill he's going to give you.
Right.
He knows all the side effects of that pill, the plus, he knows what that pill does. He does not understand anxiety. He just understands what that pill does.
Right.
So honestly, you can go online and figure it out yourself. Just look at the side effects. You'll know just as much as a doctor. There is no stuff out there that will explain to you how to get off of those pills because each pill has different side effects. And there is no protocol out there to get off.
Yeah, because usually when you get put on pills, it's like you have this prescription for this amount of time and then that's it, right?
Not for those. Not for antidepressant or anti-anxiety pills.
No.
There's no
end date. So it's just
there's no end date.
continuous
Again, at first it was, it depends.
Yeah.
And so we're going to put you there. We're going to give you some wins. You're going to feel a little bit better. And by feeling better, you're going to start fixing your life, which will give you less anxiety so we can take you off the pills and everything. And it's that very rational sounding argumentation stuff and everything that did not take into account any of the human being stuff, which of course completely fails. And now they're stuck in a model where they made stronger drugs. You can't really get off,
right?
But you can get them sooner.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? And so now they have that, which means you give them sooner, which means you learn even less. So all they're doing now is giving the stuff sooner and sooner and sooner and sooner. For example, you see that with that number one drug from Pfizer that was for the cholesterol levels, like that number one drug that they are anyway. And it used to be that the cholesterol level was dangerous at 300. I can't remember, it was 250 the levels or whatever. And for 10 years, every year, they lower that threshold.
Okay.
And that's also part of why they told you that they had more and more people over the threshold is because they lowered the threshold.
Right.
So at some point, it was at 200 something, and by the time I left the US, he was at 125 or something like
crazy.
that.
It sounds like a Black Friday sale in Mexico when you go in, and I paid attention to the prices at Costco when I went in. I'm like, it's more expensive.
Yeah.
And there's like a 40% discount, but they just raised the price like crazy.
Yeah, before they, exactly.
People who were buying them.
Yeah,
like
because
crazy.
they love discounts, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So they told you that there were more and more people over the threshold because they lowered the threshold every time to give more drugs. And it worked, obviously. So more doctors prescribed it.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is that there's very few doctors that actually educate you, right? So, I mean...
Because they don't know themselves half the time.
Well, yeah, but I mean... If I were to go see a doctor and he's like, well, you're over the threshold that whoever's putting out there, I'd be like, oh, okay, I have high cholesterol, but I don't know the purpose of cholesterol. You know what I mean? Like, what's the proper numbers? Like, who's going to go and research all of that until the frustration comes to a point where you're just basically fed up with everything, right? Which is, I think, where we get people a lot is they're just frustrated and fed up with just being sold and sold and sold and sold.
Right, and without fixing the problem, because those are the people that come to see us. So that brings a point. Do you think it is the path of fitness coaches to deal with anxiety and depression?
Fuck yeah.
There you go.
100%.
There's your answer.
Yeah. And I think of it so much more because I think that anxiety, the symptoms of anxiety and depression come at such a high social system.
Yeah.
Right? When you look at the anxiety, the panic attacks that people have or depression, a lot of it has to do with social systems. It has to do with being bullied. I mean, the nervous system, and yes, you have, different chemical reactions happening in the body.
Of course they do.
But when you when you start to look at the root cause,
yes, exactly,
it always seems to be something that happens socially. So I think that for me at least, my view on it is the way to fix it is in a social environment, in a certain environment that creates
you
safety,
dealing
right?
with your social environment. Yes.
And so I think that that's where the coaches are able to come in that are empathetic, and maybe they don't have the doctorates and the degrees, but they're dealing with the human in front of them, not with another number.
But just from a degree perspective, one of my
doctors just look at patients as numbers. But
one of my biggest problem with the drugs is like this. Many studies it's been proven that exercise works better than drugs for depression, for example. I don't know how many studies are there proving. I think it was up to 50% more beneficial to people exercise than drugs.
Yeah.
All right. I don't hear that conversation from doctors.
Yeah. Right.
Because they're like, you should exercise. No, let me give you a drug.
No.
That's going to be the excuse they give us. I'm like, how is that ethical? You took an oath and you're not respecting it. Right. So if just exercise is from a spiritual, I agree. And then I'm going to go a bit further even on the other side is if exercise is 50% better than drugs, even if it's just equally better
the science
than
is
drugs,
still there, yeah.
that tells us that exercise is as good as the pill. Then that means that trainers, qualified trainers, are just as effective as doctors in fixing anxiety and depression.
Right.
The question becomes, if we know that exercise done in a study is as efficient, imagine if we were to study this and find better exercises to deal with either anxiety or depression, because they won't be the same thing, because they're not the same thing. Imagine how much good we could do from that side.
Right.
And that's what we try to do.
So then a question for you is, what would be a qualified trainer?
Right. So the problem we will have that doctors don't have is that then we will need to understand what anxiety is in order to help.
Right.
So they look at it, anxiety is a disease. Okay, then all I need is a cure.
Yeah.
Hence a pill. That's easy. The way we go at it is anxiety is a function. Then you have to understand its purpose.
Right.
To understand the purpose of the function, you need to understand the root cause of the thing, right? Of what it is. Right. Once you understand what it is, then you know how to apply. So you understand how to find the exercises and how to apply them. Yeah. So what will be a qualified person? That means that is someone who will fundamentally understand the function of anxiety or the function of depression,
right,
so that they understand how to adapt the proper exercises to the context.
Okay.
Everything is contextual. Like, right, there is no truth without context. Yeah. It's the same thing with emotion, and I guess anxiety or depression they are true within a context. That's where that social environment comes in. That's the context.
Right.
It's their social environment. If you don't understand that, then you don't know how to apply the exercises we found. Because if you look, right, the exercises we found are very, very simple.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just make people do steady cardio.
Yeah.
Okay, but when and how and why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
right,
so, but that depends on context.
100%.
So it's the same problem by saying I'm happy. No, you're not happy. Like, that's why they say you can't measure happiness. But that's because you're looking at it fundamentally the wrong way. Any emotion is contextual. So in the sense of you cannot gauge an emotion without a context. Otherwise you're confusing an emotion and a need.
Right.
You're hungry, you know what that is. You're happy, you don't know what that is. You know why? Because you're only happy with your spouse, with your training, within a context.
Right.
So it'll be the same thing when you start to talk about function, is what is the context? Mm-hmm. So that means that it requires you to understand what is anxiety, the exercises we give you, which honestly is the easy part,
yeah,
and then go into the context the person is in to be able to apply it correctly.
Right.
That's a one-on-one setting.
Yeah.
That requires you knowing the person you're talking to. And as you said, being empathetic enough that you actually care.
Yeah.
So can you McDonald the shit out of it? No, you cannot.
Right.
So we'll never be able to do Max Strongfit.
Right.
Max Strongfit, yeah. So in Jiu-Jitsu, they call that Mac Dojo.
Mac Dojo, yeah.
And it's happening a lot.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we want to deal with anxiety and stuff like that, then we have to understand that from the beginning that this cannot happen.
Right.
So this is where we're going to have a fight, you and me against them, is as we do this and we become more successful, we will have people that we know about out there that will try to systemize in a way what we are doing.
Yeah.
That's
It's
coming.
already happened, but
give it 2 years and you guys will see exactly what I mean. Those people cannot answer a simple question: what is anxiety?
Right.
They can't. So, and this is where the fight will have. It will be that. Is they will try to Mac Dojo the shit out of it.
Right.
By creating a system based on what we say, but that the problem is then it will fail because it is not applied contextually.
Right.
And that will always be a limiting factor to what we do.
Yeah.
It can only work contextually.
For sure.
So that requires the coach to be qualified, to be that good.
Yeah.
To understand context as much as theory.
Right. And I think that when we say qualified, it's not certifications, right?
No, qualified.
It's
no,
knowledge.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. We didn't say certified, we said qualified.
Qualified, yeah.
Yes. Right. So, because we get that question all the time. Well, do I get a certification? I'm like, well, I don't know. Are you good?
Yeah. Right.
So, but then they're going to go like, how good do I have to be? Well, then we're back to Mac Dojo.
Yeah.
So it's not a belt. There are qualifications in place, right? And so one of them will be empathetic.
Yeah.
One of them will be understanding context. One of them will be understanding the theory, and then the other one will be to understand the exercises and how they apply to each.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the only way forward, though, I think. If we want to help people, I think this is the only way forward. But we see that hyper-specialization now in sports just as much as in coaching, for example.
Right.
That's why I think is hurting everything. I remember what the Greeks had to say: you had to be an athlete as much as a philosopher.
Yeah, I put that. Socrates said, what was it? It's a shame if a man never understands his full potential and power.
Yeah, the beauty and the strength the body is capable
I got 3
of.
messages going, and women. And I was like, I was like, you should take that up with Socrates. It might be hard to reach.
No, it's because Socrates said a citizen.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yes, and men is because it's the English form of saying men as in everyone.
Right.
Because that's actually old English. You say men when you mean. So you can call it sexist if you want. I don't care. That's the way the English works.
I just wanted a side note.
Yeah, sometimes you say they when you don't know who you're referring to. Like that's just the way grammar works.
Yeah.
So fuck off.
Don't
come up with that bullshit. Man. Like, I'm sorry, like I don't have time for this shit anymore. Like, if you think the Chinese, let's just burn with the Western civilization to the ground, which is what they want to do anyway. And let's see if the Chinese do better. Like you love being into labor camps. Yes, like the Great Leap Forward, it worked really well. 60 million dead people later.
Anywho, back to qualifications of a coach.
Right, so it will require, but it used to be like martial arts used to be like that.
Right.
People knew how to strike, knew how to grapple, and we started to divide, to study things more. But at some point, you know what I mean? Like it's functional segregation, right? At some point, you need to put everything back together. So I think as a coach, can you be a good coach without being empathetic? There's no fucking way.
Yeah, it can be hard.
Then what are you going to coach?
Yeah.
How many people are you going to break? Do you need to understand the technique? Well, yeah. That can be systemized. That's not that hard. Right. But I think the real work starts on the other stuff, which is understanding. Because, for example, I'm going to do a class out there on understanding anxiety, because you have your class that you take people through how to deal with anxiety.
Yeah.
I want to do a class for how to understand anxiety, because I think that will give them a base where they'll do better with you. Because sometimes people come to you and you have, with the idea that anxiety is something they caught, basically.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like a cold.
It's like a cold or some shit like that.
Like, it's just life, guys.
Yes, it's something you do. I mean, it's not something you catch. It's something you do. And so out there, so we were talking about the chemical reaction and all that stuff. Are there chemical component to anxiety? Fuck yeah. And then that's what I'll go over in the course and everything. I'm doing the lactate masterclass exactly so that, because, for example, how to get qualified into anxiety. So you have all your ways to deal with anxiety that people feel. Right. For them to do better at that, they need to understand what is anxiety. Right, so that's the course I want to do. But for them to understand what is anxiety, they're going to have to understand the prediction observation model. So I need to do a course about that. Yeah. And then you need to understand the physical component, which is going to be lactate, noradrenaline, and glutamate, and osteocalcin. Right, so of course there's that component right here of all those peptide hormones and everything. Right, so there's some of it you need to understand here. Some of it you need to understand there. Then you need to understand this, and then we can get to how to apply it. Yeah. But you know how to apply it because we talked about all this. You know enough of that you can put it under context.
Right.
And there's a part of me that thinks that even to fix it within themselves, they're gonna need this part right here.
A little bit.
You don't need to be great at lactate, but you need to understand how the shit works.
Yeah, but nutrition is part of it, but it's like people don't understand nutrition. So the easiest way to go is macros, or just tell me what to eat, when to eat it, which is not the point. Once you actually start to understand nutrition, you're like, okay, well, I should be trying to have this, or just the auto regulation. Like Day is always trying to get me. She's like, just tell me what to eat. I was like, well, find out what feels
It depends
good.
Because it depends. It's like saying, tell me how to be happy. Well, happy about what? Your home life, your training, your work, like which part? That's just the way.
I had a client once tell me, what does happy feel like?
Yes.
I was like, just do what makes you happy. He goes, what does happy feel like?
Define
and I was like,
oh shit. Yeah, that's a long.
Well, let's go try. That's a
exactly.
Happiness to me is not happiness to you, my friend.
Because about what? Like that's contextual. Like it doesn't work without context. None of this shit works without context, right? Yeah. But so there's an entire thing there. Yeah, but nutrition is a perfect example because, for example, I can link all that stuff to nutrition, but then people will tell me then I should have more of this or more of that. I'm like, nutrition is not the answer.
Right.
Nutrition is a tool. It's not the answer. Right. Otherwise, if you use nutrition as the answer, it becomes a fix. Right. Because you're still not exactly.
Yeah. Which I think we say that a lot, right? Breathing is a tool. Nutrition is a tool. Movement is a tool.
Tools.
So all these are tools that we use to
understand the thing, because the thing is based on so many contexts that if you narrow it down to one thing, you're not going to go anywhere. If you think breathing alone will fix your anxiety, you're wrong. It'll work 6 weeks and you're done. If you think nutrition alone will. So I had a new client, right, that's going through one of our coaches that comes with a list of deep-seated issues. Yeah. And she wanted to sign up with a nutrition with me one-on-one. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, there's all this, and then she starts to go into nutrition, like this is gonna solve all that. And I was like, I got news for you. Like, what you're talking about is a year of work. I can tell you that right off the bat, and nutrition is gonna be 6 weeks of that.
Right.
I can't do shit with nutrition in a context at large.
Well,
it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't matter.
Yes. And by the way, if I give you nutrition and you're in the wrong state, you're gonna go like, well, I don't feel good. So I can't succeed like that.
Eating steak, I'm just be like, I'm in a parasympathetic state.
Right, exactly. But if I nose breathe, I'll be able to eat a steak. No, you won't be either. No, I mean, while you think about murdering everybody around you.
I just need to sever my steak.
Yes, exactly. I'm pretty sure some people have tried.
Yeah.
By the way, while thinking about murdering their family.
Yeah. Well, I had somebody, because I've been doing a lot of the coaching, just looking at face and just kind of different postures as they're doing movement. And I had a client send me a video, and they're doing the psoas opener. And I'm like, where the fuck were you during this whole thing? She's like, oh no, I felt my psoas. I was like, you contracted the psoas, but where the fuck were you? Because your face, not even was it like
not
all
even
over
focused.
the place. It looked like you were just not happy, not wanting to be there. Like you're like, the exercise isn't gonna fix shit.
Yeah.
Like it's
that's
you
not the
wanting
point.
to do the exercise.
Yes.
So that's why, I mean, now that's the whole beginning course that we'll do on the anxiety and function of it. And yeah, it's a... But you imagine, so you do your course on anxiety, and people go there, if they go there with a mindset of, I'm going to do the exercises Richard prescribes to me, you've lost already. Yeah.
Because they are not listening to you say, no, but you need to want to go there.
The best one is I had a guy that suffered from panic attacks, took the course thinking it was the healing potion or whatever it was, which I said from the beginning it is not. These are tools that you can use. And then about week 4 goes, hey guys, sorry I've been kind of missing in action, but I've decided to try to do only week 1, week 3, and week 4 of the homework, because week 2 I don't think is necessary for me, and I kind of understand the system of it, and it won't work. I was like, interesting. Okay,
that starts well. But then by week 5 they blame you because it's not working.
Yeah, so it's always that too. It's the
plus, by the way, it cannot not work, since that's not what it's supposed to do in the first place.
Yeah,
which is giving you the tools to deal with your state.
Yeah,
that's it. That's as far as it goes. What state are you in? What state do you want to be in? That gap, that's what you have to fix.
Simple. Not easy, but simple.
It is that simple. So now, what are the tools to understand the state you're in? And what are the tools required to get to the state you want to be? Now, that's the big one.
That's a big one, yeah.
And that's the one we try to give you. But really, the principle is very simple. And I'll explain. But after that, I think the need is to understand why I have the whole stuff about, when they say wakefulness, which is really paying attention, which is being present, which shows you where that comes from. And if you look at anxiety, like we'll do that on the next one, but I think it's a very important context is I think people, one of the reasons for anxiety, one of the main core as a function is to bring people to what they call wakefulness, which is energy toward the outside, if you look.
Right.
That's why anxiety is to make you in a society that asks you to be awake. Remember when people say, well, I feel energized or I feel tired, give me nutrition so I can train more because I don't feel recovered. It has nothing to do with being recovered. What you want is to feel awake.
Right. So you can go towards the outside. Force yourself towards the outside.
But that's what being awake is sharper senses, because you're already going toward the outside. So what people want is to be awake in a life that brings them to the opposite of that, doing emails, doing this. But what they're asking you every time is, I need to be awake. So if you feel you need to be awake, then the anxiety will climb up until you are awake.
Right.
The problem is awake is paying attention, is being in the present.
Which a lot of people have a hard time doing.
So then you're screwed. The anxiety only goes up. So at the end, you have to take action.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's no way out.
Yeah, but you had that when we were talking about the phylogenetic hierarchy, and I think it was such a great way to envision it, right? So you had the flow, fight, flight, and freeze. And you said like the freeze is being inside the cave, being safe. The flight is kind of visualizing yourself going out. Is it safe enough to go outside to go hunt, so on and so forth. Going to the fight is going hunting, and then flow is socializing and being with people, and
it was active in the cave.
Active in the cave. Yeah. So I think it's such a great kind of visualization of how to, like, for people to understand their
Well, look
states
at
a
good
little bit.
socialization.
Yeah.
It's you're within yourself in a way. When you love someone, if you look,
Right.
you love the feeling they give you. You're within yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people will sit at outside, but no, like when you love someone, they're part of you.
Yeah.
So you're
just-
looking inside. Yeah, that's your cave.
Yeah.
Your loved one is your cave. It's
Right.
part, it's home. It's we all know that feeling, right? It's that. So it's really that, and going toward the outside, that what the scary is and everything. But if you, that idea of paying attention. Do you need to pay attention when you're with a loved one? No, you're fully chill, relax. Of course, you have to pay attention,
float.
but
You should-
yeah,
you
you know what I
should
mean.
pay attention.
You should pay attention, but it's done in a chill way where you don't need to bring that. Okay, I need to.
Yeah. Well, that's why, like, when I first met Dea, and I was just hanging out at her house, and I was like, I mean, I already knew like I was gonna marry her and everything, but I was like, this is it, because I wasn't trying to pretend
Exactly.
I was something I was not. It just flowed. It just
Yeah.
went.
And so we'll go on the next
There's
podcast.
no
But
more
that's
hunting.
exactly that fifth hierarchy actually plays off of that. So that's
Right.
when you know, like like that's why it's based on context. And anxiety is that part where you're not there,
Right.
when you're over there, and the drive to go there into this society is higher and higher and higher and higher. And this is where anxiety lives.
Yeah.
But you're not going to address it without understanding fundamentally what that means. And one of the issues I see with the medical world is they are making the issue far more scary and complex than it is. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a simple issue because it's a function.
Right.
It's actually a simple issue. They're making it more complex and scary so that you need the drugs.
Right.
At least that's what my belief is
sure.
on this, honestly.
Yeah.
And so it's a great question, though. What is going to qualify those coaches to deal with it? I believe it's understanding of what anxiety is, of
Right.
that function, the tools necessary to deal with it, and then understanding the concept, the context the person is in, so that empathy and that attention toward people suffering from it, so that they can fix it. So qualification is going to be you as a human as much as you understanding the technical aspect of it.
Right.
Is there a technical aspect of it? Of course there is, but there's
100%, yeah.
also you making a progress as a human being toward helping others.
Right. Yeah, the constant study, right? Of just constantly evolving. I mean,
Plus, yeah.
like we're still learning. Like you
my
send me
God.
stuff, and I'm like, huh. And then it starts to like kind of go back to things I've done and we've kind
Right.
of talked about, but then they kind of come full circle. and
Exactly.
so they're still kind of all overlapping. You're still refining that skill.
It'll never be done.
Yeah. It's
Every
crazy.
time I think it's done, there's three more.
Something new comes
Yeah,
up,
there's
yeah.
three more of them coming up now. I mean, like, and it'll never be done. Like, it's the more I know, the more I understand. I'll never be done.
Right.
This is. I don't know if someone will figure it out. It's probably going to be an artificial intelligence at some point, but it sure won't be me.
Right. Yeah.
Because even in a lifetime, I'll make a dent. Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah.
I hope so. But that's about as far as this
a
goes.
big dent in those that you're helping, right? On one-on-ones. I mean, it's been,
We'll make a dent in the human condition.
Yeah.
No, I mean, maybe not in the whole stuff, but at least in the people we help, and hopefully get coaches to move forward. But this stuff require, that qualification you talk about, like, for example, how exhausting is all this?
Yeah.
Fuck me. People understand the calls. I don't know what's more exhausting, teaching a coach
Right.
to help someone or helping someone.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure.
Well, helping somebody, at least you have the stubbornness of that person, but then trying to relay what you want for that coach, and then you have to entrust in that coach that he's going to do
The work.
things,
Yeah.
his way, but the right way
Yeah.
at the same time.
But to me, the hardest job is to partake the urgency of what we're doing to people.
Right.
How necessary it
It
is.
is, yeah.
And on top of how important, how much work there is that is not memorization.
Right.
There's so much craft in this. It's crazy. Like, and it doesn't sound scientific. It's because part of the equation is human based.
Yeah,
like this
for
is
sure.
about people. And so I can teach you the lactate and all that stuff, but you're gonna have to apply it to people, and that's where at least to me, that's where the real work starts. I mean, it's the context those people are in that matters.
Yeah. And just a lot of fucking work. It takes a lot of work.
Psychology, but I think some basic level of psychology will be required because that qualification is always it's a great subject, but I refer always back to Charles Munger.
Yeah.
You know, when the way that that PDF, the way he was talking about being a financial guy, is like you need a high school understanding of math and probability and to me that's that we're going to need a high school understanding of stuff like biology, of basic stuff, so that we can put it together to helping people. But I think that will be necessary. And fighting, my guess is fighting the medical world every step of the way, because they're going to feel we're encroaching.
Yeah.
And I guess we are.
It's going to happen.
Good. And the more pissed they are, that means the better we do.
If we find us dead, it was the pharmaceuticals.
There's no question. If we get weirdly attacked and everything, yeah, exactly. But that means at least, if we ever get to that means we did such a good job
that
they need to take us out. Yeah. That'll be a good sign, because they won't.
I like it.
They won't succeed.
Beautiful. Well, we'll call it there, guys. Find us on Mighty Networks, the community, Julian's Corner, all that good stuff. Reach us at Strongfit1 Instagram. I'm getting better. I'll see how quickly I am. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you flag us and all that stuff. Not flag us, but like save us and do all the algorithm stuff that makes us go up. Make us a trending thing.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Take care, guys. See you next episode.